Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at the cheapest possible way to create a somewhat decent HDRI. If you're looking for a quick fix, this video is probably not for you. To be honest, it's a total experiment. And maybe if it goes well, then I'll create another video that gets to the point a lot faster. Okay, let's start with a quick explanation of what an HDRI is and why I even care to make one. An HDRI stands for High Dynamic Range Image, and it's made by taking multiple exposures of the same shot and combining them into one photo. This gives you way more control over an image. You have way more data to play with. And in my case, it allows me to use an image to create realistic lighting in my 3D scenes. So I've been using HDRIs for years, but I've never actually created one myself. The only time you need a custom HDRI is when you're adding 3D objects to actual video footage. You want your 3D objects to reflect the exact same things they would be reflecting if they were actually sitting in that room. This Apple TV remote is a great example. I want my 3D object to be able to do exactly what this Apple TV remote is doing. I want it to know that the brightest source of light is coming from right here. If this still doesn't make sense to you, that's on me. I'm not great at explaining this, but stick around. I think you'll understand it in a little bit. Now, there's a reason that I've never made a custom HDRI before, and it's simply because of cost. If you do any research, you'll quickly see that you pretty much need a full frame DSLR camera and a photo stitching software that's roughly $300 called PtGui. Or you can use a 360-degree camera, which is going to still cost like $200, and it's gonna be nowhere near the quality of the DSLR. My problem is that I'm not ready to drop that kind of money on this yet. I don't even know if how often I'm gonna be using it, and I have all these other plugins I wanna purchase first. So I did a ton of digging to find a cheaper solution and couldn't find one anywhere. Today, I'm hoping to change that. I'm hoping to find a way for us to create HDRIs with the tools that 90% of creatives already have anyways. A phone, a $9 app, and Lightroom. Disclaimer, I've read a lot about this stuff, but I've never tried any of it. So today, during this video, will be the very first time that I'm attempting any of this. And it may not work. First step, we gotta figure out something called exposure bracketing. Exposure bracketing, or AEB for short, is an automated way of taking underexposed, properly exposed, and overexposed images. The good news is that there are some apps out there that allow us to bracket using our phone. After doing a lot of digging, the app that I've landed on to purchase is called ProCam 7, and it's $9. I will state though, I did see some cheaper bracketing apps, but ProCam 7 had way better reviews, and it even has more bracket options. So most only offer 3 brackets, ProCam 7 offers 4 brackets. We'll see if that even matters, it might not. And if you're on Android, I read that Open Camera could be a good option for you. Just switched over to my iPad, and just showing you that this app is downloading for the first time. I've never touched it before. Okay, I've got the app open here, and immediately I see the AEB option right there. I think I hold it to open up the settings, okay. Group, I have no idea what group means. How many are there? 4 groups. Yeah, I don't know what that means. EV, I honestly don't know what that stands for either, but I do believe that that's our 4 brackets. Yeah, you can see that it's changing our f-stops on the right. And I think what I want to do, I think I'm going to go for, I'd like to have 2 stops below, 1 stop below, 1 stop above, 2 stops above. So for EV1, I'm going to change this from -4 to -2. And then for EV2, I'm going to do -1. For EV3, I'm going to do +1. EV4, I'm going to do +2. Okay, let's exit out of that. I want to try RAW. I think that should be good since we're going to be importing these to Lightroom. And let's just try taking a photo. Okay, so it looks like press the RAW button to preview the RAW photo. I just pushed it. Okay, cool. So here we go. This is it. So this is our underexposed by 2 stops, underexposed by 1 stop, overexposed by 1 stop, overexposed by 2 stops. Nice. EV stands for exposure value, duh. With this app, you can actually take your exposure values plus or minus 8, which is pretty impressive. I don't think I would need to go that far, but pretty cool that you can do that. Okay, things might get a little bit shaky. I'm going handheld with an iPad, which is not good. But I have my phone down here because I'm trying to take an HDRI from my coffee table. Also, I'm gonna unwind these and I'm gonna try to use the volume button as a shutter button. I'm gonna see if ProCam 7 allows you to do that, because since we're messing with shutter speeds, it's really important that the camera stays as still as possible. So let me get these untangled and we'll try it. Okay, cool, it works. All I have to do is tap this up or down volume button and it takes the photo for me. Okay, cool, it works. All I have to do is tap this up or down volume button and it takes the photo for me. Okay, I know we've already established that I am in no way a photographer, but we're gonna try to make this makeshift setup work. I know from reading that I need to get my camera perfectly level, and then I need to rotate the camera around the room 360 degrees, taking those bracketed photos along the way. And I know that every time I shift, I need to be covering up 30% of the last photo that I took. So I'm not turning it to where the photo was entirely cut off. I'm taking 30% of the last photo all the way around. And then once I get that row complete, that entire circle, then I need to do the whole thing again, angled 45 degrees down, and then I need to do it again, angled 45 degrees up. And typically, one last disclaimer, usually you want to do this in portrait mode instead of landscape mode, but I don't have a tripod that can be tipped sideways to do portrait, so we're gonna see if landscape will work. All right, just finished the first panoramic shot. Oh, have a piece of hair hanging in my face. That was attached. I don't know how it went. I mean, we're gonna have to just wait and see when we put it into the computer. There is one thing that I realized at the very end that's gonna cause maybe some trouble. I was using the center of my phone as the pivot point when I was doing my circles, but really what I should have been doing is I should have flipped the camera around so that the camera was actually at the center whenever I would move it, you know? So that's potential problem. Now it's time to actually shoot the footage, and it's sort of time sensitive. Like, you want to do it as quick as you can after you shoot the HDRI, because you want the sun to be in the same position when you're shooting your footage as it was when you shot the HDRI. I'm gonna experiment with a couple of different shots using my iPhone, and I think as long as the coffee table is in the shot, technically our 3D object should work out. Okay, next step is to import these photos that we took of the HDRI and put them into Lightroom. And it's been so long since I've used Lightroom that I'm having to reinstall it. Also, this video is making me realize that I need to change my default screensaver from Razer. Okay, so I've run into quite a bit of an issue. I plugged in my phone, I got all my HDRs imported into Lightroom, and whenever I used the merge photo button, there's a button that you basically just highlight all the images and say merge into an HDR panorama. But when I did that, it said 30 of 48 images couldn't be merged. So, trying to navigate that. Well, it's officially the next day, and I worked on that for hours last night and never figured out what the problem was. I did try doing portrait version of the panoramic around the room as well, And it's Lightroom and Photoshop continue to tell me that a majority of the photos are not able to be used. And I did try it without doing HDR as well. I just tried single images and it still says the same thing. So I'm gonna have to conclude this week's video. I just can't afford to spend any more time on it. I have a bunch of projects I need to jump on. So we're gonna call this part 1, and I'm gonna revisit it again next week and see if I can figure it out. In the meantime, if you have any experience doing these panoramas with Lightroom and you recognize any sort of mistake that I've made, please let me know. I'm a little stumped, but I'm gonna continue to do some research over the next week. But thanks again for tuning in, and I'm sorry we didn't nail the solution this week, but I have a good feeling that we're gonna get there next week. All right, have an amazing week. I'll see you next Tuesday.